Well, politicians say it's their job to stand up and speak up for their constituents. But if that voice goes against the party line, sometimes it can leave the politician in the doghouse. When the party wants to put its members on a short leash, they at times punish them by withholding funds for mail, removing parking spaces, cutting staff, and moving people to the smallest offices the size of a closet. Our 44th District Assemblyman Anthony Portantino of La Cañada is feeling the heat from his party. He cast the only no vote from Democrats on the state budget last month and now says his party is retaliating against him for voting his conscience. The Assemblyman is here live to tell us what's been going on. Thank you for being here, Mr. Portantino.
Thanks, Anita, for having me. Appreciate it.
So you were the lone Democrat who voted against the state budget.
In the State Assembly, I was the only Democrat who stood up and said, you know what, we have our priorities wrong. Public education should be the #1 thing that we focus on in California. In particular, higher education at this point should not be getting the severe cuts that the leadership wanted to do. And for our district, as you know, this is a district that respects the community colleges. PCC is the heart and soul. Public education is the backbone of the 44th Assembly District, and certainly upward mobility and the economy demand that we focus on it. And so I wanted to have a conversation about priorities, and I was shut down, and I said, well, frankly, these aren't the priorities that I got elected for, and my district wants me to carry out. And I stood up and said, I'm not voting for this budget, and I'm not voting for the education cuts, and I'm also not voting for the economic driver that the San Gabriel Valley relies on, which is redevelopment. We don't have a statewide jobs plan. We don't have a statewide jobs initiative, but local cities do through redevelopment agencies, and I didn't want to take that tool away from redevelopment agencies. And finally, there was the income projections were overly inflated, and John Chung has come out since the budget was adopted and verified what I said, that the income projections were inflated, and so I wouldn't support the budget.
Okay. Now, were you getting support from your constituents? Were they calling in, telling you that they didn't want you to vote for it? What were you hearing before and now after?
Well, as the proud representative of this district for 5 years, I feel very close to the residents of the 44th Assembly District, and I know that it's a suburban district that cares about education. So I felt I was responding to their wishes, and I said I wouldn't vote for it. And my punishment, or my consequence for voting my conscience, 9 days later I got a letter from the Rules Committee saying, oh, by the way, we have now cut your budget, therefore you're over budget. So it's kind of ironic, the folks who set the budget created the shortfall and then are trying, frankly, dishonestly, to blame me for creating a shortfall. And the irony there is I'm the guy who doesn't take a state car. I don't take a state cell phone. I carpool with my wife to the airport, so I don't charge the state for parking. I don't participate in the Assembly Mass Mail program. I haven't changed anything since I got elected 5 years ago. I'm still spending at exactly the same threshold. They arbitrarily cut my budget, frankly, just to punish me. It's wrong. It's unheard of. And now what they're doing is they're proposing, listen to this, they're proposing to lay off all 11 members of my staff for 40 days. Wow. They're going to shut down my 2 offices. Again, who are they going to punish? The innocent residents of the 44th Assembly District and the proud 11 members of my staff who work tirelessly to serve the needs of the district. They're going to lay those people off in a very mean-spirited, petty attempt to try to hurt me. And it's just stupid.
And so they're going to expect you to do your job without any support staff, without any of the field reps that go out and meet the constituents. Now, they're also saying that, they're saying you're $67,000 over budget, and that, you were given this notice. I know you got a letter in July, but that they had told you back in January that this budget was going to be over.
Here's what they've done. Frankly, back in December, the Speaker threatened to cut my budget. He said, you were too outspoken last year. And again, last year, what was I standing up for? I did not want to support the suspension of Prop 98 to protect K-12 education. And the Speaker was mad at me because I opposed cutting K-12 education. So he called me up in December and said, Anthony, you're too outspoken. If you don't stop it, I'm going to cut your budget. And then, of course, approved my budget, but was using the threat of the budget cut over my head December, January, February, March. Then, interestingly, in March, I would not support the early release of inmates on our streets. Again, what does our district want? They want a safe opportunity for their kids to go to school, for their car to be parked in the front driveway and be there when they get up. Here we're going to release thousands of inmates, and I stood with the district attorney and Supervisor Antonovich to oppose the early release of shifting felons to the county jails and prisons. And again, by voting my conscience there, I got a letter shortly after that, again threatening to cut my budget in April. So all of their actions have been timed to my vote, and there's nothing more American than the guaranteed right to vote your conscience.
Now, some are saying that the reason that you've been standing up so much and not voting with your party is because, you know, you have future goals of running for Congress, and this is a way to make a name for yourself. What do you say to those folks?
Well, bring that on, because I'm doing exactly what I did this year as I did 5 years ago. I stood up for education, and prior speakers will tell you that I walked into their offices and I made my argument to them. The only difference between now and 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago is the leadership then respected somebody who looked them in the eye and spoke their truth to power, spoke their conscience. Now we have a leadership that wants to punish you for working your district, and frankly it's sad that they would turn a very punitive action and try to make it political, because this was simple. I work for my district. I'm the only assembly member with my home telephone number on the state's website, 818-952-3432. If you have a question, call me. I love working for this district. It's the best district in the state of California. They can say whatever they want, but let them put one document on the table to prove their point. And that's the other thing. We've asked them to disclose the budget documents, and just today we got a letter saying they are not going to disclose the budgets of all the assembly members and the committees. They're not going to put the detailed overall budgets on the table. What an outrage that the public can't see how the public's money is going to be spent. And you know why they won't release the budgets? Because when they release the budgets, they'll show that I'm the only one being singled out. I'm the only one being asked to cut people off, and I have one of the smallest budgets to begin with. It's an outrage.
I know the Star News has also been looking for those budgets, so we'll see if those ever do get released. Really quickly, I just wanted to ask you, locally you've had support from Mayor Bill Bogard on the redevelopment zones. You had voted against that bill to remove those redevelopment zones. What do you think the impact will be locally since those bills did pass?
Well, frankly, I think local government's going to take the state to court, and I think they're going to win. I was proud that a number of cities have sent commendations. The San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments voted to support my position, to protect their position. California Contract Cities Association. These are jobs. We need jobs. The cities are right. The money's going to be protected. They're going to win in court. And frankly, the folks in Sacramento don't get it, and they needed somebody to stand up. I'm just disappointed that there weren't 50 other people joining me and saying this is wrong. But that's the strong-handed nature of this business. People are afraid to be punished, and you know what? If I never hold another office because I stand up, I can live and sleep at night and be comfortable with who I am, because you got to do the right thing.
Okay, well, if you do jump into Congress, I'm sure it's going to be even bigger fights, but
I can make more people mad at me for doing the right thing.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck to you.
Thank you.